Hello and welcome to Bet in the Shed Talk Stuff again. So today I'm going to be talking about how to win the ZRL round 3 of this year's season's ZRL. Get the most amount of points at the end of the round. All right, so video done. Let's go get something to eat. Oh, you want more than that? Okay. Well, my hot take for this CRL round is to concentrate on the TTTs. Everyone knows, that's why I haven't done any videos about how to win the stages, because in all chances, if you're watching this video, it's because you already spend far too much time thinking about how to win a ZRL race. So it's no point explaining to you how to win a points race. Usually your teammate should have a pretty good idea. But one of the things that I do notice and I'm aware of with ZRL and just as Zwift in general, is a lot of people do not practice time trials, specifically team time trials. So with this round, like we had previous round, I think it might have been 2 TTTs previous round. It's very important that, we can hear a good motorbike in the background. What I recommend is to try and get as much practice in. It's probably a bit late now. I was trying to make this video earlier, but enter the Thursday night TTTs, ideally with at least 6 teammates, possibly more because you obviously might have people dropping out, not being able to do both TTTs, but get as many as you can and practice the TTTs. One of the things is the draft dynamics is a bit different because you're using a TT bike. And also a lot of people do struggle with that dynamics of staying in a single line. What I'll do is I'll go through some quick points, my tips, starting from before the race, during the race. Remember the 6 Ps. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Make sure everyone has a TT bike in the pens. Make sure no one does a spin down in the pen, because a lot of Wahoo trainers are having issues. Maybe they're fixed in the update, but if you do a spin down in the pen, then I have seen people try to leave the pen without any resistance. So there is something to be aware of. If you are going to do a spin down, make sure you do it before entering the pen, and my advice is to do it in the Wahoo app. Make sure everyone's on a TT bike. It's best not to enter the pen on a road bike, enter the pen on a TT bike so it doesn't throw your teammates off when they see you riding a buffalo bike, even if you are on a TT bike. Then when you are in the pen, make sure everyone has communication. If there's any breakdown in Discord, have a set plan. So agree that if you see an F or a G or a Z, whatever, any letter in the chat, it means that your teammate does not have Discord. And so you might need to let them know. So this moves on to my other point, is use a bot. Now, I'm not talking about a cheating bot to ride for you. I'm talking about a DS bot, a director sportive bot that will let you know of whose turn it is coming up and then also how long that turn is for. Here's a demonstration of it.
Heel, get ready. Change in 10. 5. 2. 1. Change to keel.
That's it about.
30 seconds.
Start to think about the fight now.
I've been thinking about it all week.
Gunner, get ready.
Just a little bit more.
Change in 10.
I need to skip the turn now. Before the flying over.
2. 1. Change to gunner.
Ideally, maybe use a whiteboard have everyone know who they are following. So if you do lose the bot, your Discord for whatever reason, you know that you're following a certain person, you know how long your pool's going to be, so you can just then use the clock. Maybe someone in the team can type in like on the keyboard, type in, okay, such and such, it's your turn in 10 seconds. And then press that message with 10 seconds to go. The next thing is too, when you're in the pen, is to make sure that you've got resistance all the way up to the start, because sometimes the trainer will fall asleep, especially if you get into the pen very early and you stop pedaling. So a minute before it's time to go, wind up the trainer, make sure you have resistance. Don't leave it until 10 seconds to go. So the next thing is, it's the countdown for the timer. This is a very big thing in Zwift videos. I've seen it more previous years, not recently, but everyone talks about how you got to sprint out of the gate to make sure you get up to speed, which is fine, but everyone starts pedaling with 5 or even 10 seconds to go, and they're burning up that energy for 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Now with Zwift, even though your watts might not be showing instantly because you might have 3-second average, you can start pedaling with 1 second to go, and you'll still exit the gate. So just be pedaling all nice and easy, making sure your trainer's got resistance, making sure your heart rate's connected, making sure you're getting power or power reading, but just sit in zone 2 for that 10 seconds. And then when you get to that 1 second, that's when you give the kick. And make sure you do give it a good kick. Don't sprint as hard as you possibly can, because you're going to out-sprint your teammates and just give a big gap. But do a strong, hard effort. Try and, depending on your weight, 600 watts. Make sure everyone gets up to speed. Get up to 40 kilometers an hour at least, and then settle it into your turns. Okay, so that brings me into the next step, which is you've left the pen and you're all lining out. So obviously you want the person who's doing the first pull to be the strongest sprint. Get out front. I recommend using camera 6 if you can, to make sure that you can keep an eye on the group behind while you're in the lead. And this is also when you want someone who's in control of the DS bot. Just if you're in the lead, you say, okay, ready for my turn, start the DS bot, or you have an agreed time, say start the DS bot when the timer starts. When you hit that, you leave the pen, but then you also hit the start banner, which is usually a different time. You have that leader, and then you want the second person on that wheel, not right up against the shoulder. What is the hardest thing to do in Zwift, but it seems incredibly easy once you actually master it, is sitting about 4 meters back. Now, you don't have to see the 4 meters. What I do is I try and see if I'm riding in position 3, which I know Nathan Guerra hates. He likes position 1, which I'll touch on later. But I try and see from the top of my helmet. I don't want to be seeing the full wheel in front of me, but also I don't want to be pushing up against the rider. As you can probably see with Coco here, see with this grey shirt, that's perfect distance. So now it's a little bit far, but I don't want you seeing like with his blue shirt. I don't want you pushing up against that rider, because in all likelihood, you'll do like this, you'll set out and you'll be sitting in the wind. And with the TT bikes, the cone, it's hard to display, but if you're riding a road bike, the cone of draft is more like this. Whereas if you're riding the TT bikes, the cone behind the riders is much narrower. I don't have any scientific proof, but it just seems like that's what happens from my experience. So when you're riding in second wheel, you don't need to be pushing up. I'll probably say it way too many times, but don't push up onto the shoulder of the rider in front. And then that extends to every single rider behind. So that gets me to my next point, is try and ride as smoothly as you possibly can. So when getting to the point about Nathan Guerra and his riding in first person view, which I think's 3 on the keyboard. I like number 1 for reasons I'll explain soon. But if you feel like you do struggle with being smooth behind the rider in front of you, try number 3, where you can just try and keep that distance to the rider in front of you. You can just sort of on and off the gas, pedal hard, pedal soft, pedal hard, pedal soft. Just try and ease the gas. As soon as you see yourself moving up on that rider, back off. You actually want to be preemptively putting the power on. So if you're not moving back anymore, it probably all likely to be moving forward. So you can ease off the power. Just keep easing off until you start falling back, and then you put the power on, and then ease off, put it back on, ease it. But you want to be as smooth as possible, just in terms of physiological reasons, plus also if you've got 6 riders all spread out, everything gets affected 6 times by the time, or 5 times by the time you get to the back of the group. So the rider in the 6th wheel is going to have a lot of bungee accordion effect where it's coming in and out, in and out. And so that person at the back's going to be powering off, powering on, powering off, powering on. I'll demonstrate this in a video here.
seconds. Moves. Get ready.
Is that me?
Yep.
Change in 10,
She got an American accent.
5, 2, 1. Change to moves.
Now that's the bad way to do it. The good way to do it is this.
David, get ready.
Yeah, focus.
Change in 10, 5, 2, 1. Change to David.
Okay. Pretty smooth, boys. Enjoy that rest.
30 seconds.
I don't want to harp on it about too much. It's quite simple stuff. It just takes practice. Ideally, you want to do a TTT every Thursday. So to come the last round, I think it's the round 6 is the stage 6 in round 3. It's too hard. The last race of this ZRL is going to be a TTT, so you can try and get as many practices in as possible. And this will give you a massive advantage on the teams that have strong riders, but they don't practice the TTTs. They might individually practice with different teams, but unless they're playing with the same team, practicing with the same team, they're going to lose a good 30 seconds at least. When it's all said and done, you might be 60 seconds difference between getting that practice in and the teams that don't. So it's your turn to be at the front. Now, obviously, you want to try and be second wheel, but there are circumstances where the momentum means that you fall back. Don't stress. Just make sure that when the bot starts counting down, so it says your turn in 10 seconds, you start getting that momentum forward. Building momentum is the key in Zwift. It's the key for everything. If you can work out how momentum works in Zwift, you'll become such an efficient rider, particularly TTTs. So when the countdown starts, says it's 10 seconds to go to your turn, start building momentum, work your way to the front. So when it counts down to 0, you're at the shoulder. Okay, try and be at the shoulder of the rider who you're replacing. Once you get to the front, with that momentum you've got, don't blow the pack up. You might accidentally have got too much momentum. You might be 3 or 4 kilometers an hour faster than the rest of the group, which is great for you, but it's absolutely terrible for the rider, especially the one coming off or the one who's just sitting at the back at the moment in 6th wheel. If that gap extends out, they've got to gain 3 or 4 kilometers an hour by themselves without that momentum that you've got, and you're fresh because you've had the longest wait. So you can smash out watts. Those riders at the back that aren't fresh have to do exactly the same effort as you, maybe more so, and that's what kills TTTs. Do 30-second turns or 45-second turns. I love doing a 45-second turn because, well, for the first 5 seconds, it's quite easy. The next 25 seconds, you're steady. And in the last 15 seconds, this is a great chance to pick up a little bit more speed for your team. And also, if you're holding a little bit back, it means that last 15 seconds of your turn, you're not dying. So same thing with 30 seconds. Do that first 20 seconds as smoothly as you can. And then that last 10 seconds, just put a little bit more effort in. Then when it gets to the last 2 or 3 seconds of your turn, you can just back off your power. Hopefully your teammate has done the right thing, has come up on your shoulder. And then you can just start sliding back. Don't back off the power completely, otherwise you'll drop back like a stone and you'll then have to put in a big burst of power. And then slide back, let that draft build your speed up again. Don't kick too early because Zwift does still have sticky draft. I have seen it, experienced myself. So you don't want to get back to the fifth rider or the last rider in the group and then sticky watt them so that their momentum they had gets dropped. You both fall back. There's a big gap. You're both screwed. Wait until you let that last rider pass and then do whatever you need to do to stay with the group, whether it's slowly building power or you prefer it to go a big boost of power. Do whatever you need to do then to stay in that sixth wheel. At first, might be a little bit messy. You might push up against sixth wheel, but the great thing about being in sixth wheel, you do not need to worry about keeping it smooth for the person behind you. Just make sure that you count properly. You're not actually in fifth wheel. Then as you move through the group, it becomes more and more imperative to be smooth with the rider in front of you. Fifth wheel's not so bad, but remember the guy in sixth wheel, try and take responsibility if you're in fifth wheel of looking after the sixth wheel rider. So if you can see that the sixth wheel rider gap's growing a little bit, you leave a little bit of a gap to the rider in front of you and ask the sixth rider if they're okay. This is where it's really important to communicate that if you're struggling with the group, don't be a hero. Don't think, no, I'm going to close that. Say yes as a gap. And then what the team can do, this is the most important thing and the simplest thing, is the first rider can just keep their same power. As long as they're not smashing it stupid, every other rider just adds 1 meter. Okay, the first rider adds a meter, well, second rider, I should say. First rider in the wheel, so second rider adds a meter, third, fourth, fifth. There's 5 meters right there that you've gained for the rider in sixth wheel. If that's not enough, add an extra meter each. Okay, just spread it out. I like to use number 1 because when I'm riding in sixth or fifth wheel, I'm actually looking at the first rider, not the rider ahead of me. I do look at them, but I'm judging how I'm going from the first rider in the distance. If they're moving away from me, I know that I'm in trouble. Even though I'm holding that wheel in front of me, there's going to be a gap somewhere in the group if the first rider accelerates away and then nothing changes between me and fifth and sixth. So this is where I get ready. Just put a little bit more speed because by the time, if I wait, by the time that gap gets to me, I need to put a lot more power on. So it's the same thing when you're sitting in, nice car, but 40 k's an hour at the front of my house. I don't think they're doing 40. Same thing when you're in fifth, fourth, and third wheel. You watch number 1 rider. You keep the same distance to the number 1 rider the whole time. If you feel like there's too much of a gap between you and the wheel in front, just say, hey, spread out a little bit, number 1 or number 2 rider, number 3 rider. Just spread it out a little bit, fellas. I think that pretty much covers it. That covers the technical parts. So then, would you call it technical? Okay, so now the next thing is, don't waste the strong rider. If you've got a team, everyone's the same level, that's fine. Everyone just rides the same. Do the same turns, the same pulls, everything. But with the Zwift bot, you can program how long pulls are. And that becomes very handy when you've got a bit of disparity in the team. My recommendation is not have any pulls less than 25 seconds. It's just a waste of time. Or that swapping slows the team down. 30 seconds absolute minimum, I think, is the best. If someone can't do a 30-second pull, they just don't pull. They might do every second turn. And with this bot, you can actually toast and untoast yourself using the little emojis. It's a little bit more complicated, but for what I think is the best way to do a Zwift race, if you've got a weaker rider, is just hold them back in the first half of the race. Now, if you've got 2 weak riders, maybe have them alternate. Put the name down on the bot or just agree to be one of the names, and every second pull they can swap. Now, the reason why I say this is because if you look at the dynamics on a TTT, if you're not letting your strongest rider do what they can in the first half of the race, you're wasting a lot of time. It's best to use your fastest riders in the first half of the race. If then they need a little bit of rest, then you can bring the weaker riders in, or the weaker riders are still there to be able to give the faster riders that rest. Don't underestimate having an extra rider to fall back in. It gives you an extra few seconds in the draft to build your speed back up. If you've ever done a pull where you fall back and everyone's bunched up and you have to burn a lot of matches just to stay in the group straight away, compared to when you fall back and everyone's lined out beautifully, it almost feels easy falling into the group from there, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. We're coming to the end of the race. Now, what I like to do when I'm doing a TTT, for me personally, is in the last 3 kilometers, you empty the tank. You can say, if you're feeling strong, tell everyone, I'm feeling strong. I can do longer or harder pulls. You don't necessarily do longer pulls, you just do harder pulls and make everyone else in the group try and hold your wheel, because there's no time here to waste energy. The other thing is too, I always think of the last 1 kilometer as the finishing line. Race to the last, well, everything you've got into that last 1 kilometer. Once you hit that last 1 kilometer, you try and build as much speed as possible before the line. If you're hitting the finish line at a speed higher than you were with 500 meters to go, you've left time on the racetrack. You want to almost be slowing down as you hit that finish line, simply because you have nothing left to give. Obviously, you don't want the group to break up, but the most annoying thing when you're doing a TTT is you get to 300 meters to go and people are sprinting orange numbers across the finish line. It drives me nuts when I see people do that. They could have done that at 500 meters. It's a time trial. It's not a race to see who can win the sprint. You've left speed on the table if you cross the finish line doing orange numbers, unless you can do orange numbers from 500 meters back. Okay. Well, that's it. Yeah. Go practice. The TTTs are actually the best fun you can have on Zwift, I think, especially once you've got a nice one nailed and you know when things are working well and when things are working bad. It's quite entertaining to race in a team that appreciates when a TTT is going well. There's a lot more fun when teamwork works well on a team times trial. Getting all crossing the line, absolutely buggered. Hearing everyone on Discord dying. There's a certain level of satisfaction in knowing that you've all worked together well to produce the best result possible. And you'll find that it takes a lot of practice for everyone to be happy. Even after a lot of TTTs, not everyone's always going to be happy, but that's far better than doing a single TTT before a race, or not even practicing team time trial. This is why I do say do it on Thursday nights, because you can't practice a team time trial on time trial bikes in any other event on Zwift. There's no point doing a meetup because the draft dynamics are different. You can practice using the bot. That's good. You can practice toasting. You can practice swapping turns, but if you practice too much without a time trial bike, without race dynamics, you're going to have a nasty surprise come team time trials day. Okay, that's my last words. Have fun. Have fun out there. Peace out.